Hello and welcome back to Young Climber. We have returned. Happy Tuesday. We're still bringing you all the best there is in the kingdom of Eswatini, giving you the elite stories, unique people who are doing amazing things. And in today's episode, we have someone known as Lution, but today we get to break it down from Mzwandile Lution, all the way from Psycholution to Lution, and we talk about all the work that he has done in the kingdom, and most recently returning from the US of A. Lution, should I say Mzwandile for now?
Either or, like I'm just in awe of how natural you are. I love it. Thank you so much for having me. It feels good to be sitting here like a young climber. I've been itching to be sitting on this table.
You know, reading about you, I then discovered that there is so much more than just, you know, the hip-hop sensation.
Right. Right.
And now you're just bigger and better. From Kingdom XLR, you know, all of that. But we'll talk about that much later into this interview.
Right.
We go back to what made Lution what he is today. I think you were fortunate enough to be exposed to both public education and also private education.
Yes.
Can we talk about that, your education and how it shaped your confidence and most importantly, your communication skills?
That's interesting how you'd frame it as communication, because it's only in retrospect that I realized, wait a minute, this was great interpersonal skills in terms of development, that is, because Nangse St. Mark's Primary, it's obviously a public school, right? And then transitioning to Sifunzani High, and bengihlala kaMsunduza eSkom. So my friends ekhaya are not having the same conversations with the friends at school. So imagine being too hood for the burbs and being too burbs for the hood.
Yeah.
You see, so you constantly doing a rewind, fast forward, and as if that was, you understand, as if that wasn't enough. I then went to boarding school in a different country, so it's like people from different backgrounds. So now Sisegigo, you don't see it, but in retrospect, in hindsight, you're like, wait a minute, this has developed my skills to the max, because given my career, especially in communication and in media, that has expanded my horizons so much in terms of empathy, in terms of tolerance also, in terms of understanding backgrounds, and also standing your own. And I give all the credit, of course, to my upbringing, because that was quite solid.
That's a very interesting one. I mean, with so many transitions, I think we are so pretender, you know?
Pretender. I can't even act.
You can get into a room and fit in perfectly.
Character, but yes, 100%. I think I can.
And did those times then, you know, build the media side of you, the music? When did you realize, Kutsiati, music can be a thing for me? Being exposed to, you know, South Africa, being exposed to Sifunzani, or was it at St. Mark's? When did that actually hit you, Kutsiati? Before we get into the media, the music.
Right. I'm sorry, I stopped listening after Sifunzani. I'm kidding. So for me, it was, to be honest, when I started writing lyrics in a rap context, it wasn't to record, it wasn't to have a music career. I literally wrote lyrics to kill rappers and ciphers, sort of battle rap, and would have this thing in high school. Every Friday, different schools would meet up at the park with rap battles. So I'd write my lyrics strictly for that. And then later on, we then discovered a studio around campus, not campus, boarding school, and we started recording, and those songs became popular in high school, and we started becoming cool kids, you know, hosting these
performing at talent shows,
you know, type of stuff. So that kind of worked out well until I came back home, where there were rap battles that my friends pushed me to jump into at the park. Shout out to Courtesy and them who organized, I think it was Headcount, if I'm not mistaken, or it was World War III, then became Headcount and Tinker's battles. So I jump into all of these opportunities, and then there's one defining moment where I won a rap battle, which had a record deal as part of the prize, because after the number one has to then go into studio with Claiming Ground Records and record 5 songs. That's when I met Mosaic, and the rest was history in terms of, then that's when I realized, wait a minute, this thing is working, man, in terms of music-wise. And it was well received when Lindelo Mafa played the first song. I was like, what?
And what year was that?
This was 2009, if not late 2008.
You see why I'm
You
saying
know, it's 2000 and yeah. You know, it's ancient.
It's been quite the journey. You've also had like an evolution in your title from Psycholution to simply just Lution. Why did you decide to change your stage name, and what does it symbolize in your journey?
I love how you frame it because it is evolution. Like I said prior in the previous chat, I started off with the rap battles. So in rap battle, you can't have a soft name. It has to sound crazy or something, or dangerous or violent. You know what I'm saying? What? So in my case, Psycholution fit the persona very well because it wasn't just the Psycholution. It was poetic solo is yet to conquer heads, outstanding. It's just a lot of diction. Yes, it was like an acronym.
I thought.
However,
okay, but
well,
fine.
that too, but psychological revolution.
yeah,
You change how people think.
Yeah.
Of course not. But what it was is I took a hiatus from recording music. That's when I had to go to school at Boston Media House. And during that time, I had the back and forth with YFM, Full Clip, going there back and forth. And then I got enrolled. I had to freeze from releasing music, of course, to get the A's and the B's and the what-whats. So with that said, the music, when it took a pause, the radio pressed play. So on the radio, everybody called me Lution on campus generally, and it just grew to be, hey, you Lution. And when I branded myself on the radio, it was just the liftoff with Lution. Yeah. And then before I knew it, when I came back home, because I was gone for 7 years, everybody's caught on to Lution. I was like, also, since I'm building XLR, you know what? The Psycho Ngazutazlisa and the corporates, you know, would you sign a check to Psycho?
Psycho, I don't think so.
It's wreaking irresponsibility.
But before we get into that, let's backtrack to 2009. As you had mentioned, that's when I feel like you started releasing real music. What was the Eswatini music scene looking like back then, especially for hip hop? Because, you know, I would say it was not so great, but you managed to break into an industry that no one saw, you know, succeeding. How was it for you?
I had this mindset of, I'm the only dope rapper in Swaziland. I'll come back home and save the world.
Yeah.
I was wrong because I came back and I met incredible minds like Buklipo, Intellectual of the movement, Mosaic, Courtesy, and them were doing crazy things. That's when it started making sense. So, oh, okay, humble yourself, young man. There's others like you. So that's when I realized, okay, there's actually music. Then I started doing my homework and learning more about the Reconnects. In the 90s, hip-hop existed in the kingdom in the 90s. And I met great minds like Lusoloja who broke it down, because there's actually generations like season 1, season 2, Konza's in season 2 actually, Reconnects in the 90s, and then Bokonza, which was season 2, and then season 3 is us, which is Boklipo and Diba Diba. Season 4,
then,
have
stood
you know
the
what I'm saying?
Of time.
I'd like to believe we're
You've
still
lasted
standing.
longer in the game
What
than
do you-
the
well,
season
I
2s, I would
But there's
say.
a lot to learn also from the previous generation
of course.
and the new generation as well.
Indeed.
So yeah, there's a lot they've been doing in the kingdom. Bobo Maz, Nabo, Anaconda, there's a lot. But I wasn't in touch then, so I may not know how the scene was. But yeah, it was there.
But then you went on to, you know, pursue a formal education at Boston Media House. Was this when you just wanted to understand the technology of the music scene? Because you went into sound engineering at that point. What made you pursue this specific qualification?
To be honest with you, it's really not that deep. When I went to high school, when I finished high school, believe it or not, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Right, and since my grades were very average in high school, I didn't know I was smart until I got to tertiary, right? But I had very average grades and VITs denied me, and I was like, you know what, I'm pursuing music. I'm not gonna pursue any other career. And the music worked out until I had the back and forth with YFM, and YFM had so many adverts in Boston Media House. If you wanna learn about sound engineering, radio, it's like, you know what, I get the law thing, but the music is working. How about you study something that is around media, expression, creative arts, and music, right? Which led me to learn more about what Boston Media House has to offer. And I realized, you know what? Since I'm having the show with Superfly SBIS2 for, I think, 2 years at the time, let me study the radio. And RIP to Magete Mbihlo, because she gave me my first radio, Eswatini, Eswatini TV. It's because it's the same building, right? EBIS too. Yeah, so that took off, and it just made sense to study radio. Little did I know, when I enroll, it's not only going to be radio, it's going to be PR, it's going to be media law, it's going to be marketing, all of that. And at the time, I didn't get it. I was like, time I want radio. Ganzi, fast forward, it has made me the person I am, media perspective-wise.
And I feel like, it's never too late. I always hear these stories where someone is a nurse and then they become a teacher, and maybe, so maybe law somewhere somehow can fit in there.
You may never know, hey?
Exactly. But
Thank you for
strike me as someone who likes to wear many hats, or is a jack of all trades, or does
like
multiple things at the same time. While you were at Boston, you were a student, leader, radio host, audio producer. How did you manage it all?
I give credit to Qipo, intellectual, because when I got accepted to enroll, he told me one thing is, bro, volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. And that's what I'd like to even give as advice. When you enroll somewhere, volunteer. Like, if you have to roll cables, do it. But research on how it works, and because that'll give you leverage to then establish your own thing. So when I got to Boston, I wanted to know what is happening, and I volunteered to be student assistant here and there. And it got to a point where it just made sense, because I wasn't making music and I was hosting shows in the kingdom. Now I'm here in this new space, and what must happen? I started creating Writers Club, which is, I'd say, a formal poetry show that happened on a consistent. It became huge, at least in the sentence side in our vicinity. And not only that, but I also co-established Social Thursdays, which was like a game experience for the students and all of that. So that became something that I'm synonymous to. Could say, okay, yes, he's learning, but he's also doing other stuff here. It almost felt like our stuff before I became stuff. So fast forward, I then graduated and became the I'd say co-manager of the station / producer, and I was just doing all of these things for the campus.
Wow, that's beautiful and interesting as well. You also took a year off to study effective group leadership at Mananga College. What were some of the key lessons that you learned from that, and how do they still influence how you lead teams today?
That's a beautiful question. To be honest with you, at the time when it happened, I felt like, okay, let me just get this course, because fees went okay at the time, and as an international student, they want 100% of the money. You know how it goes. So in that particular year, at the time, it seemed unfortunate, Ganzi. It was fortunate because it allowed me to then go and study Mananga just for, I think, a couple of months, and to get that certificate. So what I learned there is leaders eat last. Right, so it's like the coach's story, the glory belongs to the team, and the losses become yours. But also, it gives you an edge versus everybody else who you're going to later graduate with, because lo and behold, I became the manager, and guess what? That same certificate of effective group leadership played a huge part in validating why this man should be the manager and lead all these 30-plus people. And fast forward, lo and behold, we had the IVLP, which I believe we'll get into. And that certificate also gets validated in that case. So it's some things you don't see it, you feel like, I sing in, but it actually works in your favor in the future, especially if it's not far-fetched from the journey that you're walking.
Interesting stuff. Lucian, there's so much to talk about, and there's so much to unpack, but we'll take a short commercial break. When we return, we'll talk about Kingdom XLR, which is what I actually knew you for. But then, a media powerhouse, that is only when we return. Hello and welcome back. If you just tuned in, you are tuned into Young Climber, and in today's conversation, we are speaking to Mzwandile Lution, better known as Lution. Exactly. I was just missing that. As I had mentioned earlier on that I knew you for Kingdom XLR.
Really?
A multimedia powerhouse. Yes.
That's like 10 years later.
That's, yes, I know.
Love it.
No, I mean, that's when I started to pay attention to the Lution figure in depth, because we knew you for the hip hop, obviously.
Yeah,
that's just hip hop. And there was so
it's
much.
not just hip hop.
Okay, it's just
Sorry,
hip hop.
I'm just such a hip hop head.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. I knew you for the music, and now I got to know someone who's so passionate about media, had a vision. You know, you're working so hard to make sure that Kingdom XLR comes out top, and we knew the name. You'd always say, remember the name.
Right.
Can we talk about that vision? How did it come about? Why did you start Kingdom XLR?
Man, I'm so passionate about Kingdom XLR, I can talk all day.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to give a big shout out to the team. The team is like a very strong, I'd say, assemble of sharpshooters, super professional. So shout out to the team at Kingdom XLR. How we got established, it's quite funny because I was literally in Joburg before I got here, and how me and Tiger, who's our graphic designer and also co-founder of XLR, what because I was doing stuff for Boston Media House, and this way we needed a graphic designer, and we were not impressed with what we were getting around. I was like, you know what, I'm calling Eswatini, getting one of the sharpshooters to do the work here. And we started doing a lot of work for the Boston Media House, produced by Eswatini. We're like, you know what, there's something here. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how, and we started having ideas about music compilations and all of that. But I didn't know if I'm gonna come back to Eswatini as soon as I did, because what happened was I got a job offer from where I was with Sony Music, I guess I can mention it. I had the interview, everything was perfect, and then guess what? When it comes to now having the work permit and all of that, because I was blessed because my study permit had 2 extra years. God knows how, but I kind of live with that. Now, I'm converted to a work permit. It was a nightmare. I pursued all of the things, like from Ministry of Labor to South African High Commission, fingerprints, the police, whatever the case is, up until the door was locked. That I tried to open, and they told me, look, media is South Africa is very rich with media, and if maybe you're a brain surgeon or neuro or whatever, then you'd get a work permit, but and go build from there with the education you have here. I was like, sheesh. But luckily, because I didn't know it was the following year, COVID was gonna hit, and eventually I'd come back home, so I kind of got a kickstart. And God bless Boston Media House, because they paid me even 4 months in advance, because I had to resign. You know, now study permit is here. It was a huge loss for them. Now I feel like, guys, you know, when you like having a forced breakup with someone that you didn't have beef with, it's sad. So when I came back home, I started buying equipment. Okay, we're gonna do this like this. I started researching, let's register it as a company, legal company. The first mistake I did was give everybody shares. I didn't know, but we fixed that since then. But I still have a very strong team, and we're only 5 years strong, and it got to a point where we know exactly what we do. We exist both in the entertainment, I don't like the word entertainment, in the creative arts industry, and also in the corporate world. Now, what's cool is go see, we're more like Robin Hood, because we're getting cash from the corporate, and we're giving to the, we're using it in the popular culture space. Because for now, underline for now, there's still not much cash that comes in through creative arts. But that'll change, I choose to believe.
And I think you'll be the change makers. Your company has delivered for major clients. Like you've mentioned that you work with corporate, but still come back this side, 100%. You know, and give back to us. You've delivered for major clients like Eswatini Bank, MTN Bushfire, and of course some government ministries. What's the work that you're most proud of out of all of the projects that you have done?
Number one will obviously be the IVLP nomination, because I didn't see that coming.
Really?
For real.
But that's what I want to talk about right now is, you know, that most of Eswatini, especially the young Eswatini, think that there are no opportunities, especially when it comes to things where people have to travel, opportunities offered by different embassies or these different organizations. Is it a thing of they pay no mind? Or how did you get into it? How did you manage to see this opportunity? Why yini lesi neglect ukuthi singawaboni lama opportunities lawo, because akhona sesibona abantu nasebandiza abantu go Taiwan sebani hawu Lution usa America ufuna ne America. Yeah,
that is funny.
It's so stressful at the same time. But how did this specific opportunity come?
I'd say to answer the first question, people are always watching. At least the right people are always watching. So the key is consistency. Work even in the dark. There's this thing called, I forgot the actual wording, but it's like chopping a tree. You keep going until it actually falls. But if you keep taking breaks, it's probably going to take longer. And there's no passion for it. So I give props to consistency. I give props to you not giving up and all of that. So with that said, how the IVLP came about, for me it was a huge miracle, because in 2014, I applied for the YALI initiative, Young African Leaders Initiative, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't get it, and I was mad. Little did I know, they are watching, like I said before. So with the IVLP, it's an initiative that started in 1940s, like one of the oldest initiatives in leadership or exchange programs that the U.S. State Department has till today. So it's like a legacy project for them now. So former ministers, former world leaders have been nominated for it. So what's interesting about it is you don't apply. They find
they
you.
call you.
Yes. So it's like they find so many exceptional leaders with different spheres, of course, and they have this initiative of exchange, bringing all of these sharp leaders into the country, which is America, to learn about so many things, including diplomacy. But in our context, it was economic development through the arts. So only 11, 12, actually, if I'm not mistaken, countries that were picked in Africa out of 35 countries that the U.S. Embassy has presence in the context of embassies in Africa. So only those 12 were picked, and Eswatini, I was the only one that was picked to represent the kingdom. So it was a life-changing experience, to say the least. There's a lot to share, but I'm trying to follow your lead in terms of what do you want to know.
But I think, you know, if people were following your journey, especially on social media, you didn't share us the content. They would definitely get bits and pieces of what you were doing during your time in America. It was just so beautiful to watch. I was so inspired, and the fact that one of our own was there. What was most obvious is obviously the cultural transition. You know? How was that for you? Like, when you step down, you're like, I'm in America, and then next thing you know, there's accents, the food.
Right.
How was it for you? And most importantly, what did it teach you as a creative entrepreneur?
That's a beautiful one. To me, it didn't hit me until probably I woke up in America. I'm like, America. But there's a lot that I've learned. Americans are very sociable people. They're very kind, and they'll be willing to assist with anything. You drop your bag, hey, you drop this, you know. So that's one thing that I feel like it's almost similar to Bunfu. Well, it's not Bunfu, but I think it's the same philosophy. And one thing I've also learned with the US, great nation that documents everything. Every great little thing, every great huge thing is documented, from Martin Luther King to the slave trade to what to whatever, to even the presidents and whatever legacies. There's memorials, there's museums, there's parks, there's X, Y, and Z that I'd say immortalizes the present for future reference. So that's a lot that I've learned, and I feel like if we can move along that kind of expression, there's a lot that we can also turn into cultural expression for tourism, for hospitality, for the economic growth of Eswatini through these art expressions, from monuments to museums to X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So I feel like and our story is even like super rich because of our culture, our heritage, our ethnicity. So there's a lot of similarities. Of course, ours is a bit minuscule and they're on the grande level, but there's a lot of bridges that I feel like are potential for us to form.
And you know, there's so much that you can teach us with that experience. But in the interest of time, I'll just give you an assignment. Maybe you need to go back and have a sit down where you document everything and just explain the whole
of course,
experience.
I don't
I
mind.
think that will give us a clear explanation of what it was and what it did for Lution, most importantly. But as we close off, you know, you've built a career that blends music, media, business, and of course, community impact. What values have guided you between or throughout these different roles?
Oh, that's amazing. I give all the props to my dad. My dad has been, shout out to all the present dads. My dad has been very instrumental, man. From as a child to even now, he's very cognizant of sharing wisdom, and I'm very inquisitive as well. So there's a lot of lessons. If I start, I probably wouldn't end. I think I need to write a book called The Book of Paps, because small things like you know, so that stops you from being entitled. You feel like if something didn't happen for you, then it's okay, type of thing. So it's small things like that that go a long way as you grow up. You don't see it growing up, but you realize, because no, there's these codes of conduct that I am guided by, you know. So I give all the props to my dad, and also nje nalukba Eswati. Our fabric is very strong. Because even our connection with the US, these are the results. And recognized and celebrated, and also contribute to the economy through the creative arts. Not only that, but even agriculture. If we can make agriculture cool, we can very much thrive. But my point is, there's a lot of wiring from Gando Andre in the person that I am, and I'm forever grateful.
Beautiful stuff. You know, all I'm taking from this conversation is that the creative industry is in safe hands, and we know that you will be the leaders that foster change and, you know, just bring the future to Eswatini. In the interest of time, I'd just like to thank you, Mzwandile, for honoring our invitation. It has been such an insightful and impactful conversation. Please do continue to be, you know, the beacon of hope and inspire, and continue to shine your light onto our youth. You know, the future is very near.
It's very near.
The future is very near. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. Shout out to you, Bello. Thank you to Eswatini TV, and especially thank you to Young Climber for trusting me with this platform, and it's been therapeutic. Appreciate it.
All right, Hibabugina Makaya. That was Lution, of course, and he is bringing so much more, like he has already said. But from this week, and me and my team are closing it off right now. You know, it has been such a wonderful 30 minutes with you. We hope to see you again next week as we continue to unpack the lives of Eswati, who are doing phenomenal work. But until then, it is good night and God bless.